Basically, as we're recording this, the WTO is going to be considering whether there will be a change to the patents that have been sort of put in for the vaccines that are being used to fight against COVID-19. Will they be changed? Will waivers be made? Will the countries that are currently being hit the worst in this pandemic be able to domestically produce the vaccine? Well, we'll see. But what we do know is that the people are in support of a change. A new poll finds that support for government action to compel the sharing of vaccine recipes in Italy, it's at 82%, Canada 76%, United Kingdom 74%, Germany at 70%, and the US is at 69%, which is not nearly as nice as you might think. Why are we at the lowest end of that? Maybe it has to do with the fact that we got our vaccine, so who cares what happens to everyone else? But look, even so, 69% is really up there. There does not seem to be a lot of disagreement on this topic, JR.
Yeah, it does. You said 69% does sound like a pretty good number. But again, we always talk about how the world's leader, we're the world's leader, the world's leader, the world's leader all the time. We have to show it every once in a while that we're the world's leader on good things, not always the world's leader on destructive things or even self-destructive things to ourselves. So sure, I don't think we should complain way too much over the number, but we should also have some ideas the fact that we're on the lower end of what many of these larger, more wealthy countries are sitting at, and kind of notice that we shouldn't be that low on it,
Yeah, and look, I would argue we're at 69% without really a high profile domestic case being made for it. Like, Biden has said, we showed you the video yesterday. If you didn't see it, go yesterday on the channel. You gotta watch that video. He was super clear that he wants this to be done, and yet he's not really talking about it right now. And we have some ideas why. New reporting from inside of the White House says that there are divisions within the Biden administration persisting over whether to ease some patent restrictions on vaccines, according to people familiar with the matter, as the president nears a decision on loosening some intellectual property rules on pharmaceutical products. So at the same time, the WTO is considering it. They're apparently trying to decide what to do. So there is this division. So what are the different sides? Well, the patent debate has pitted some of the administration's health and development experts against those inside the White House who are wary of angering major drug manufacturers like Pfizer and Moderna. Okay, so really fast, I wanna focus on that. And this is more about how these sorts of articles are written, because this is not an op-ed, straight reporting. And yet, oh God, the perspective on that. To pit those concerns as being wary of angering drug manufacturers, rather than saying there are some people who are totally cool with the profit motive of these corporations being what drives government policy rather than a consideration of the people that will die. That is just as accurate a read of what's going on. I would argue more objectively accurate. And yet that's not what makes it into the article. Instead, they're wary about things. It's about things being loosened or tightened. It's not about profits over people driving the administration. Others inside the administration are concerned at the optics of Biden reversing a pledge he made as a candidate to absolutely positively commit to sharing vaccine technology if elected president. And some have voiced concern at appearing overly differential to big pharmaceutical companies against the wishes of progressives. So concerned at the optics of Biden reversing a pledge. Just like, it might look bad if we were gigantic liars. That's what that means. It's all of it is just, everything's 10 layers of invisibility cloaks on the actual meaning of the story. But anyway, those are the sides, JR. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, those are the sides, and those aren't very surprising, honestly. As much as we like to think that this is, all being rolled out so well, and we're thinking about all these other countries and the world getting beyond this pandemic and our part in it. But now we're hung up because we're worried about the optics of whether or not we're gonna anger any pharmaceutical industries and corporations that have all this money, and maybe they're gonna go out of business. All these things always happen. We say, oh, I wonder if we actually do the right thing. If these huge corporations, they're gonna go out of business. Man, the fragility of these corporations that we put so much trust in, I mean, the proposed fragility of these corporations that we put so much trust in, geez, man, why are we pumping money into these things that are about to break on the first sight of anything being done that's outside of their norm of racking in as much money as possible? That's really the thing. And also, we start from this point that we have to answer to corporations. People want to push back on government. Oh, get the government out of my life. Hey, the government shouldn't control me. Freedom. Well, the government is now not now, has always been worried about these corporations, what they're gonna do to them if they disobey them, or if they cross them, or if they make them angry. Who's the boss of this country again? Like, is this democracy?
Unfortunately, the bosses are the boss.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
We tout this democracy we've got, but then we will openly say our democracy is worried about corporations being angry about what we do in a democracy. So who's in control here? You know?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out with the WTO internationally. We're gonna find out with what Biden says. I have my fears, but again, the American people very clear about what they want here.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.